Welcome back. This is the 85th segment of Making Sense for 7 minutes, and it is the 15th segment out of 25, where we are taking a hard look at evil and suffering. And at this point in our series, we're checking out 7 responses to evil that the Bible calls us to incorporate into our relationship with the world around us. And we're discovering, seeing, realizing that in relationship to each other, they actually unfold from or flow out of each other, to mix my metaphors. Because the first starts off with a very personal process of self-examination, repentance, and hope. The second and third call us to non-participation in evil, as well as opposition to evil. The fourth is the pursuit of justice, while the fifth may be the most difficult of all 7 responses: forgiveness. Now, let me press home a point for those of you who are, as I am, followers of Jesus. Now, this is a point that actually applies to those of you who are not followers of Jesus. But since you're not followers of Jesus, you probably don't really care what it is that he's told you to do. So, for those of us especially who are followers of Jesus, keep in mind, forgiveness is something that Jesus tells us to do. And in that sense, it's not an option. On a fundamental level, the only options that you and I have are obedience and disobedience. If I say I'm not ready to forgive anybody for anything, then what I'm actually saying is I'm not ready to do what Jesus tells me to do. So, let me offer a working definition of forgiveness. It's when you, based upon a decision that you have made, you do not allow the violation that has been inflicted upon you from actively loving the person who inflicted it. Loving them actively by providing them as much as you should with what they need. Now, this working definition is really important, so I'm going to retrack it. Forgiveness is when you, based upon a decision that you have made, you do not allow the violation that has been inflicted upon you to be an obstacle that prevents you from actively loving the person who inflicted it or the people who inflicted it. Loving them actively by providing them as much as you should with what they need. Now, if we're going to pull this off in obedience, we need to make sure that we know what we're dealing with. Forgiveness is not a process. A person is not in the process of forgiving someone else. We're told to forgive. We either forgive or we don't. It's based upon a decision, not a feeling. It is a decision to actively love that other person. But understand, when the Bible talks about and speaks of and commands us to love, it's speaking of an action, not an emotion. It's something we do. It's not something that we feel. That's why I say, somewhat redundantly, actively love by providing them as much as you should with what they need. As much as you should keeps in mind that there are some people for whom the only thing that you should do for them is pray. Because to get anywhere near them is dangerous. They are toxic. They are dangerous to you physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. You need to stay away from them. And so the only thing that you can do safely, and the only thing that you should do for them, is to pray. Now, you provide them with what they need, keeping in mind that for many people, what they need is not what they want, and what they want is not what they need. So there's discernment that active discernment that needs to take place. There's more to unpack on this, so we'll do it, but later. Thanks, y'all.